What's up, you guys? Welcome to The Imagination. I'm your host, Emma, and today I am so honored to have back on the show once again Satanic ritual abuse, sex trafficking, and Harvey Weinstein, survivor and whistleblower, acclaimed actress, model, artist, and painter, and an absolutely brilliant woman who has risked her life to shine a light on the darkness of her life and the lives of other victims and survivors, Paz de la Huerta. Here's a little bit about Paz if you guys are new here, missed her first two testimony episodes, or if you need a little recap on her testimony. From the tender age of 5, the little girl who adored fairy tales and painted dollhouses as imagined safe havens was plunged into a nightmare of incest, control, jealousy, and betrayal. Her father's abuse began early, fueled by alcohol and twisted into something grotesque and ritualistic. Her mother's envy festered into trafficking, spying through connected apartments rented to Miramax, and the systemic theft of Paz's earnings. A jealous sister, a complicit godmother, and a web of handlers turned every potential refuge into a trap. Yet even then, Paz's spirit refused to be extinguished. She painted interiors and safe spaces as a child, her art becoming the first language of her soul. She danced, she sang, and she dreamed of freedom. That same fierce light propelled her onto the screen. At just 14, Paz launched a career that would captivate audiences worldwide. Her performances blended classic Hollywood siren allure with profound depth. Beauty and talent weaponized against her by those who saw only dollar signs. But behind the spotlight lay horrors that would break most souls. In 2010, at a Golden Globes after party for Blue Valentine, Harvey Weinstein, the very producer connected to her early world, forced his way into her Greenwich apartment and raped her, repeating the violent assault just weeks later. Her own mother trafficked her to Weinstein, spied on her, and stole millions while living lavishly. Her family paid off lawyers, doctors, and studios to silence her. They wanted her dead, institutionalized, or erased. In 2017, as the Me Too movement ignited, Paz bravely spoke to the New York Times.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. It's a very important part of my story that you note I went to a journalist in 2010, long before the Me Too movement, and that I got fired from Boardwalk Empire and blackmailed into making that movie Nurse 3D and hit by that truck. That was an assassination attempt, so it's very important that you note that.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I had to just.
It's okay. No, thank you for filling in the gaps.
Yeah.
And then in 2017, as the Me Too movement ignited, Paz bravely spoke to the New York Times and Vanity Fair, exposing Weinstein's assaults. Though her case was not part of his conviction, her testimony fueled the global reckoning. They gaslit her in the media for years, but Paz remembered everything. 5 years ago, after her father's brutal rapes in a cheap hotel in Madrid, Paz escaped. With the help of the powerful plant medicine, iboga, she placed together her shattered memories and reclaimed her mind. Her art became her salvation and her voice. Her work is not mere expression, it's testimony, rebirth, and prophecy. She continues acting, modeling, and directing, pouring her truth into every frame and canvas. Today, Paz is a walking miracle, a Renaissance woman, and a courageous survivor advocate. She dreams of building orphanages, protecting vulnerable children and animals, and helping fellow survivors reclaim their power through art, animals, faith, and truth. Paz has declared, "I've been through hell, but I've remembered everything. We are all angels. These exploiters are Satanists, and I deserve justice." She is no perpetual victim. She is the siren who survived the storm, the angel who refused to fall, the light that no matter how much darkness came about, could not extinguish her. From the shattered streets of her childhood to the heights of Hollywood and back through the valley of death, Paz has forged unbreakable wings from truth, art, and unyielding courage. Her voice echoes eternally, not in bitterness, but in righteous fire. She calls every survivor to speak, every witness to stand, every soul to remember that even the most broken spirit can rise, reclaim its power, and inspire millions. She's living proof that hell cannot claim the pure of heart, because when one angel rises, the whole world remembers how to fight for the light. So, you guys, without further ado, please help me in welcoming back today's guest of honor, overcomer and thriver, courageous whistleblower, courageous warrioress, survivor and survivor rights activist and advocate, justice seeker, passionate purveyor of truth, my dear friend, and walking miracle, the one, the only, Paz de la Huerta. Paz, it is an honor to have you on again today. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So it's been a while. What will I say? I just had to relocate again. We've been in touch. We don't say where I am. But, I have to say that, there are certain factors in my life that I have to accept at this point, that there are some very powerful, evil people that would like to see me dead or in a mental hospital. And I don't believe it's going to change, but I believe I mean, even when they die, even when they die, because they are old, they're in their 80s now and they have never left me alone. No, I mean, if I let, if I didn't believe in Jesus Christ, I mean, I'd be dead, right? Because they're evil. You know, there's no understanding their evil. It's just evil,
Yes.
right? So at this point, I just have to be, what we do have on our side, Emma, is the truth. And also, Christ wins. Christ has repeatedly shown me that Christ is more powerful than like all of their evil. I mean, quite literally. I mean, there are things I don't want to go into that have happened recently. I told you I believe in the plant medicine. I don't consider it drugs. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I don't drink alcohol. Iboga is a very powerful medicine, and it's very good for people that have a tremendous amount of trauma. And when you literally have the entire Spanish royal family, a number of depraved satanic women in Hollywood that would like to see you fucking dead, that's a lot of pressure.
Yes.
So, what can I do to better my situation? I can have better discernment. So,
Yes.
I'm not trying to sound racist. I have to surround myself at this point with people I know would not be tempted by any amount of money to harm me. I have statements that my mother offers people money to torture me, to drive me nuts, or kill me, and to give up my location. Now, I just left the farm and I don't want to go into certain things because I'm healing. I'm healing, and I do know Christ is more powerful. But I don't think it was an accident that my dog was injured on Easter.
Oh,
I don't want to get into things, but I have a statement that my mom and my family wants me dead by Easter. So, as you know, working with victims of satanic ritual abuse, it's their favorite holiday, right? So yeah, I don't think it was an accident that one of my dogs had his legs clubbed on Easter. And at least whatever, God knows, and I'm deeply spiritual, at least I know I'm not mad, because I'm not crazy. I mean, that everything is spiritual. And to stop the movement in the lower legs of an animal is a very bold and evil thing to do. That's my protector, and he can't walk.
yes.
Of course, that would have had some sort of adverse reaction on me. Now, I don't want to delve into certain things because, I choose the path of Christ, and even I put that dog down, and even that little dog whose name was Jesus, I said, you have to die and I have to go back into the world and live, but I have to choose better. Well, my mother, I think I've said it. If you watch my TikTok videos, Satanists will target your animals before you. This is a fact. My mother killed my cat when I was a child because she wanted me to miss my Sundance premiere. Because anything that meant me being in the visual with my talents was a threat to her being exposed. You understand? So I knew intuitively around my 41st birthday that, you know, whether I was going to be on the cover of fucking Vanity Fair and get a fucking $1 million book deal or be left for dead in a Muslim country, that I had to tell my story. I deserved better in life. I didn't deserve to live hiding.
No.
I'm a beautiful woman. I'm a talented woman. There's no reason. Even my friend Alexander Dexter Jones a few years ago, and like I said, I don't want to be in a place of blame. I'm working from a place of forgiveness right now, and there are things, I still have my things there. There are things that I need to protect myself, right? He just said to me a few years ago, like, if they find you, they kill you, right? I'm like, yes. He goes, oh my God, this is happening. This is happening now. I'm like, yes. He goes, well, aren't you lonely there? Don't you need friends? Yes, I do. But my exploiters are so fucking evil that my therapist, Michael, before he died, after being deceived by most everyone, told me to only trust animals. But then when your animals start dropping dead, you're like, I don't own the property, do I? Right? I just, I don't want to. What I'm saying from this point on, I'm happy I made the TikTok because it started to get, Christians and normal people aware of my situation. And a man donated enough money that I could have somebody come there with medicine that made me start to piece things together. Whatever may have happened, and let's just, forgiveness is freedom. Even my little dog from heaven said, forgive everyone. Whatever happened. I will say I'm divinely protected. And if it's me surviving whatever just happened, and let's be from a place of forgiveness. I did some beautiful paintings on that property. And Carmelita's still alive. She's at a hotel now. And you live and you learn and you move on. But, if anything that my story can help victims understand is that Christ is king, okay? You only need to go online to see me smashed by a truck. I survived that. I keep surviving. So, I'm not working with the devil. I'm working with Christ. So they better understand not to mess with me anymore.
Absolutely. And it's been amazing watching your strength and resilience despite obstacle over
Well, I'm
assassination.
exhausted. I'm exhausted naturally. No, I'm
Yes.
not mentally ill. I'm exhausted. But who wouldn't be? Even when I got rid of filler and took that Weinstein settlement, I had the most beautiful apartment in the Retiro. I had to leave. Judith offering people money to lock me up or kill me. I mean, what's sad is that in the past 5 years, seeking safety, refuge, and healing, within that time, I was stolen from, I was deceived, and that's not, I don't want to dwell in the past. A lot of positive things came out, and forgiveness, I do believe people have the ability to heal, you know. Carmelitas on at a hotel. And it's my fault too. You know, I was attracted to a man there who was a lot like my father. He was an alcoholic. He liked to party, you know, a lot of sexual chemistry, but not, you understand? So I have things within myself that I have to heal in order to break the cycle.
And how have you gone about doing that? I think a lot of survivors do the same thing because abuse is all that they know. So unknowingly, they attract it or they're attracted to it. How have you started to repattern that within yourself so you can break it?
Well, the most important thing was starting to tell my real story on TikTok, whether it was 5 people that watched those videos or 200,000. Because I'm an actress. I'm not meant to be fucking quiet. It's not healthy for me. And I also, you know, being chased all over the fucking world by these people. Oh, I'll just note one thing, you know, and they said it was false threats. But after, you know, this medicine man left, you know, I was sitting by a fire meditating and I get messages saying my family paid me to torture you, all sorts of things. Okay. Oh yeah, I have them. You know, the authorities have them. I'm just not dealing with certain things. You know, from now on, I will tell victims when you travel, me personally, first thing I do is I alert the American and Spanish embassy in whatever country I go to, and I give my address. And now the U.S. Marines are aware of my story and have asked me when I travel to give them my address. At least having made that TikTok, I've gotten a very good LA attorney who happens to be a Christian that took the case on contingency, and they're reopening the Weinstein case and going after filler. And a number of institutions that I was falsely incarcerated in America. I don't want to say her name. I mean, look, she and the other lawyer already vowed they wouldn't accept any amount of money to make it go away. So you live and you learn, right? I do know that you know, am now working. Now, the positive thing is now that my story is becoming public, is I'm starting to attract, you know, I am a Christian. Even I have renounced being Catholic because I know how my family has used the Catholic Church to cover up their crimes. I went to a Baptist church today, and I believe, you know, that's. I know there's so much to digest, Emma, but I have to. I do love life, and I want to live, and I want to stay alive, and I want to be happy.
And that's all that you deserve. You shouldn't have to, like you said, be on the run. You didn't do anything wrong. You were born.
It's an abomination what I've been through since forever. And the
Yes.
only thing you can do, and people with good hearts, is share my story. Of course, I'm exhausted, Emma. I mean, it's natural. I mean, what all I am is a painter, an actress, a model. I just had walked the Vivienne Westwood show, you know, like that was so happy for me. And then, you know, I just knew, and then to receive these messages, my family paid me to torture you. And, you know, I have to give things to God. I do have, you know, friends in high places too. I have friends that work at the embassy in Tunisia, but I also have to take responsibility. What was I doing in a Muslim country hiding? You know, that's very Princess Diana, by the way. I have to, you know, my friend Nadia says, we know better, we do better.
Yes. Yes, that's a great saying. And just as a quick note too, since the last time that you were on, you discovered that Judith and had some email correspondences that were actually in the Epstein files too, just to show how deeply embedded
Oh, yeah.
the family is in
Voice
this.
memos between Epstein and Judith about me. I mean, I took screenshots of everything because you know, I even got an email after they were released from her saying, I'll always love you. And, you know, my phone was hacked. I mean, we're talking about like over 200 assassination attempts, and you still want to prove to me that the 3B apartment wasn't rented to Miramax? Bitch, you're fucking insane. And if you were convicted of all your crimes against me, you'd get the death penalty and more. It's an abomination that arrests have not been made with Christina, with my father, with Judith. These people are the sickest, most demented, evil people. I mean, it's at the point that it's just like, what can I do? I have to take care of my heart, my health, and trust Christ every day. Yes, Sarah, let me just tell you what the voice memo says. It says it's to Epstein, to Judith. And from her number, it's her number. I know her number. Is she speaking about Epstein or Weinstein, right? It's that clear.
I'm going to bring that one up on the screen real quick so people can see it. And so you can see Judith Bruce.
That's her number.
Is she saying Weinstein or Epstein? This was right in the files.
Oh, yeah, and she tried to get it off, and it was off for 2 days, but then it got back up. And then, my family's connected every which way. Arnaud Brunel is my dad's best friend. They share a driveway in Normandy. Arnaud Brunel is Jean-Luc Brunel's brother. Jean-Luc Brunel is the guy who had the modeling agency. Arnaud Brunel is Epstein's financier. My dad lives with him. So every way you look at those files, it's connected. But Emma, I deserve to be happy.
Yes, you do.
And this madness has to end. I filed for orders of protection against them 5 years ago. They did not leave me in peace. I have to, at this point, I have 24/7 security. I have a Christian security guard who can't be paid any amount of money to harm me. I'm building all over the world alliances of people who want to keep me safe.
Which you deserve.
This is all I can do at this moment.
Yeah.
And I will say that I'm in touch with a few FBI agents.
Good for you.
And one doesn't want to be named, but he was a leader in the Epstein case. And now he's becoming aware of the bigger problem, which is my family.
Wow. We need to pray over this.
We pray over that.
Yes.
I don't want to give away his name. He didn't want me to advertise it. I'm very smart. It's just a joke to me, all these, women, all these fake feminists wanting to gaslight me, say I'm crazy. I speak fucking 5 languages. I scored one of the highest IQs in my school. Like, you people, leave me alone.
Yes.
I didn't want my life to be marked by this. I love painting, acting, modeling. I deserve the time and resources to heal.
And so how have you brought yourself to forgive people who have done unimaginable evil to you?
I weep. I go to church and I just, I have a mantra. I say, I am not the mind, I am not the body. I breathe God, I breathe Christ. And it just kind of, makes me feel really present. Some days I just do that. I walk a lot these days. I need to walk. Just be in my body. I'm walking, sleeping. I enjoy speaking with people, making them aware about my story, but I also have to have space from internet. I need devout forgiveness, I mean, just, after what happened to my dog in heaven, I just felt him say, forgive them, and taking care of myself, drawing boundaries, doing things differently. And speaking out. I have to keep speaking out because, look, the world is full of evil, but there are also good people like yourself. I don't want my life to be a tragedy. I mean, it's so evil that they have not left me alone.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Now I realize, it's but then I have to understand, well, what is God telling me? Maybe I have a huge purpose, a huge purpose. Well,
You
go
do.
on YouTube, watch me be assassinated in 2011 on the set of Nurse 3D. You know, 2.5 years to survive that, 7 years the brain injury, and you know, it's a miracle I'm alive, a million times over. At this point, they have to understand Christ is king. They've lost, and I'm just going to be a lot more wise. I'll tell what survivors can do to protect themselves. When you travel, call your embassy. Make sure that you tell them you're a victim of trafficking and give them your address. All victims should do this wherever they live. Survivors. Um, One of the FBI agents I'm speaking to told me, when you write the FBI and there's a tip form, keep it simple. You list names and you just say you have information pertaining to Epstein. How do you know? Because you were the victim. Keep your Instagram private. Don't stop speaking out. You you will want to be around people who are of your same faith. It just is what it is. Um, Seek out legal counsel with lawyers that aren't in the files. Christian lawyers, they do exist. And, at this point, what do I want? I want to get back to modeling and acting, and I want to just heal. I need to heal. I'm tired. It's so much moving, and share my GoFundMe. I still owe my Spanish penalist a payment. He's the only one that got those death threats to stop. Oh yeah, Modena and the Dardar brothers. I'd wake up, open my email, there'd be photos of me in a bed saying Paz de la Muerta. I mean, I have not deserved this. And what I pray is I stick close to Christ. I mean, what can I say? It's a miracle I'm alive.
Yes.
And at least he got those death threats to stop, but I still owe him money, and my parents haven't testified yet. And then I'm still looking for a New York civil lawyer, and I'm hoping to find one that can take it on contingency, because when I finally escaped, they made a point of committing a number of evil deeds in the last 4 years, so I would miss the statute of limitations in New York. You understand? For fraud, that's just the money, right? I mean, their biggest disease is not leaving me alone. I mean, even with a brain injury, I fell in love with someone, who wanted to have my child. No, that these people are really sick.
When you're looking for lawyers or people to help, do you have any advice for survivors on how to vet somebody or questions to ask to make sure somebody is actually able to help?
I would say that when the files were released, and I looked up people like Gloria Alred that I took screenshots of and saw that she was aligned with Epstein, it became obvious why she never took my case. I'm saying Wigdor as well. Douglas Wigdor, I think he did the Casey case. Someone said, oh, he's good. Yeah, he's in the files. I would say, if you want to really win and you want to protect yourself, make sure those lawyers aren't working with your enemy. Lawyers love money. I know it sounds crazy, but try to find Christian lawyers.
That's great advice.
Um, that's good advice. What would I say? You know what I will just say to victims? Look, I don't even know if there's, my situation is so hardcore. I'm in the range of like Sharon Tate, right? And Monroe. You you love life, you want to stay alive, get safe, and just focus on your healing. and do your best to not be tempted by things that will lead you to unsafe people and places and things. Because if you give access those things, then you're inviting the enemy back in your life. Protect yourself.
How have you continued to build a relationship with Jesus and God and not be turned off by faith? A lot of people, I think, blame God. Why would you let this happen to me? How could this happen to me?
No,
How do
I
you
mean, God, I'm telling you, I was in an under €50 hotel a night with not a penny to my name. I have pictures that I will soon get Substack, and you will see the level of depravity I was suggest. I was this skinny. And given, I'm a very beautiful woman, that alone comes with a bunch of problems, okay? Women just didn't want to help me out of jealousy, or women wanted to say they would help me to just stab me in the back out of pure envy. I mean, I've had to deal with a lot of things that I'm not bragging about. Beauty is inner. I'm so happy since I've made my TikTok, I've started to make friends with women who are spiritual and understand beauty is inner. No, Christ is real. I was in a hotel 5 years ago in Madrid, no access to money, and I have all the evidence under €50. You know, my body, black and blue, being raped by my father and other men, a fat, retarded girl with Down syndrome that was making money off my body. No, depravity is, I don't know how else to say it. The only place I was safe was church, and I sat in front of the Virgin Almudena with baby Jesus. And it's interesting, in my last Iboga trip on the farm, when the shaman came, this image came and it just started to ground me. That year I spent in front of that Virgin praying did me good. I will never lose my faith in God. No.
It's really inspiring. And what
No, and
what
I even made a painting of it. And you got to keep going. Let's say foul play was going on. Let's forgive. They are human. Humans, I'm not saying we have to walk with Christ. I have to. I'll do differently. I'll protect myself better, but I got to keep forgiving. I can't be suing people the rest of my life. Let's just be grateful that Christ worked through this healer, right? Let's just look at the positive, right?
Yeah, and
Oh,
today's
I don't
Father's
smoke
Day.
anymore. Oh yeah, it's Father's Day. I went to mass and I cried, and I'm trying to, my dad must be in his 80s now, and you know.
Was that the last time you talked to him 5 years ago after that?
Oh well, I think when I was escaping Madrid, I think I was in Zurich after fleeing another assassination attempt, and he goes, "Where are you? Where are you?" And I just said, "Yeah, bye, Dad, bye."
Wow.
Yeah, no, but he hasn't stopped chasing me. He's more silent than Judith and Christina, but don't believe for a moment he's not up to his evil deeds. The Duke is a demon. I mean, if I could compare him to anyone in history, it would be the Marquis de Sade. The Marquis de Sade spent his last years in an asylum. I mean, I've been working on a movie about my life. And I remember that last year in Madrid, while he was coming into my room, doing what he was doing, and then during the day getting drunk. Oh, and I would see him on the road by his house, and I would sit in front of him, and I was becoming like a zombie. Yes, I was becoming like a zombie because as a 36-year-old woman, my dad was raping me. And he would look at me, he would say, "You look like a zombie." I mean, he's sick, right? So, no, I mean, depravity, with my father on Father's Day, what do I pray? I pray that I can I'm actually, after talking about this, I need to take another bath. I pray that I can heal enough to know that I'm worthy. Well, my real father is Jesus. That I'm worthy of healing myself so completely and finding a partner that's not going to abuse me and have a baby. I would like that. I mean,
You would be a wonderful
I just,
mother.
what can I say on Father's Day? I mean, my dad, if he was, I mean, all of them, these people take Satanism to another level. And it's just, I leave it to good people like yourself because, you obviously know me well enough by now that I could care less about money, right?
Yes.
I'm a spiritual warrior. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the only reason why you care about money in any case is to try to help people and to build your dreams, to build orphanages and ways to help
Well, I
people.
never had a problem making money. It's my money they stole. And my
Exactly.
aunt May's. It's, it's, I was a victim. May was a victim. My aunt Corina was a victim. I'm talented.
Yes.
At this point, I just want to be wiser. I have to be wiser in the company I choose. I'm not going to post pictures of any of the people I spend time with on my IG. Not worth it. It's not safe. And I gotta lay low. I gotta lay low. Yeah. And the little tips I've given survivors. Now the U.S. Marines are very aware of my story as well. And the, a few, some retired and not retired FBI agents.
That's amazing.
And I just gotta heal. I walk a lot. I need to keep walking, 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 walking.
So good to be outside too, out in nature and in the sunshine.
And learning to trust again. I go to AA meetings.
Okay.
I go to church. These are things Michael suggested years ago, but it was very difficult to do things when they had handicapped me financially. I kept running away to ashrams, and Christina would say, "You won't get any more money." It was my money. And then they were so abusive that even at the ashrams, some of these places just felt the situation was so out of control.
And you
It's
mentioned Iboga earlier. What is the best way that if somebody wanted or was interested in Iboga,
yeah.
where would somebody go to maybe look for a good source or a way to do that?
Well, I'm starting to build a community of safe people all over the world and practitioners I trust. So I don't want to give their names yet because,
Sure.
for my own safety, women and men, because there are fake people. But this is something, Michael said before he died I was to become a healer. So I'm going to keep going in this direction. And I do know safe people.
And
But I
Iboga,
don't want to, I'm not ready to tell their names. I
sure.
have to protect myself at this point.
That's something that somebody does. If a survivor, for instance, wanted to do Iboga, it's usually done with somebody there to help monitor and support you during the process, right?
Yes, you do need
Yes.
a safe person.
Yes. And for you, that helped put your memories together from what you said. How did you,
Yeah.
does that happen automatically or is that something that over
No,
a
it
period
takes
of time?
time. It
Yeah.
takes time. Yeah, I mean, when I first did it 5 years ago in Madrid, I pieced together what my dad was doing and who wanted to kill me and why, a lot of things.
Yeah.
But every Iboga experience is going to be different depending where you're at. Given the severity of my situation, I will probably do Iboga every 6 months the rest of my life to reassess my surroundings and situation.
I love that you're going more of a holistic route and looking for ways that aren't going to damage your body to heal. Of course,
Yeah, I don't smoke anymore. Look,
yeah,
I'm not going to fight their own evil with their evil. It's just, the legal system, I have, I want to live. That's the whole reason I'm alive. I will tell the bastards Christ has won, so you might as well accept you've lost. And you have to leave me alone. You have to leave me alone. Like if they're watching this, during your 80s. I mean, what you have tried to do to my life, and I don't want to say did to my life because I'm not going to let you win. But I'm telling you, in the name of our Father, our Son, and the Holy Spirit, you leave me alone.
Was there ever a time where you felt you were not worthy of healing? And if so, how did you break that thought pattern to believe that you're worthy of that and just worthy of love and worthy of all these things that you've always
Well,
deserved?
it was interesting. Around my birthday last year, I kind of was like, what was I doing? I'm one of the most beautiful women in the world, chasing some fucking guy with the, alcohol and drug problem. I just said, I said, half this battle is me loving myself.
Yeah.
And then I had started to gain a lot of weight 2 years ago. Like, I don't have one pill in my system. I don't take, I mean, look, I'm starting to sleep more regularly. Given that my mother started putting me on benzodiazepams as a child, and I've had a number of healers tell me that it was those pills that would block out what they were doing to me in my sleep. The fact that I don't have any of those in my system is a fucking miracle.
Yes.
So, I guess when I did the LA Times piece, I was overweight, but I wasn't overweight. I was bloated. And it really made me feel very insecure. But I wasn't getting my period, but it wasn't because I, was having perimenopause. It was those pills. So I started to detox myself. And then it immediately came back. Now I'm thin and I get it once a month. And now that I'm safe and grounding wherever I am and getting my sleep regular, that's huge.
Yes.
I always knew plant medicine would crack the code. I do blame myself for maybe not have chosen the healthiest. I did, given, you know,
You know.
I would say Christ can heal you in a second. Under really horrifying situations, I've done my best, and they have to leave me alone, Emma.
Yes, they do. And
No,
for people
it's
listening,
an abomination what I've been through, and you know a lot about my story. It's horrifying.
yeah, and you've talked about a lot of the risks on here, and of course there's things you can't talk about, but you've talked about the
No,
dangers and the assassination attempts and how you can't go
I
anywhere
have
without being
statements. My
stopped.
mother offers people money to kill me. I mean,
Disgusting.
I put it on my TikTok. What I will say, a few people that really love me are writing to the American embassy in whatever country they live and reporting my father, Christina, and Judith. The
Good.
best thing that could happen in their older years is that the police they finally just say, this poor woman, let's just, I don't want to die and I'm not going to let them kill me. And I'll tell you guys, even if I wanted to, Christ isn't going to let you. You have to be arrested. Like, I do know there's a few FBI agents that have called me and asked me for Judith and Christina's addresses in New York. And there is someone that doesn't want to be named who was one of the leading detectives and cops. They said, I don't want to give away too much. Okay.
I'm so happy people are finally starting to support you and stand by you after how abandoned you have been and how
I've
gaslit and
been beyond brave, Emma, and it would be nice to see some people in my industry come forward to support me.
yes. What would you tell them?
Like Sean Penn. I was unalived. I mean, I have an MRI to prove it during that movie Puppy Love. Yes, I took drugs, but I made the movie only to make money to do plant medicine. And then I believe the people making the movie were working for my family. I've I have a dent on my face to prove it. I have an MRI that took me 7 years to recover from. Okay, so you know, Sean, who's talking about injustice, he should, come forward and support me. It is an abomination what I've been through.
What can other people do to support survivors? A lot of people want to do something, but they don't even know where to start, or they're so overwhelmed thinking, but I'm just one person. What can I do? That they just don't do anything. What do we need to do and step up to help survivors?
Believe them the first time.
Yes. Amen.
And then, try to provide a safe place, safe refuges, safe places, and Christians with very good morals that aren't going to accept any amount of money. AA, but those rooms can be dangerous too. It's all about discernment.
Yeah.
And then, you know, why I made that TikTok, just share it with people. I put a lot of valuable information there, what lawyers to use, what lawyers not to use. Um, walk with Christ. Like, that's the last thing I'll say.
Amen
I
to
need
that.
to sleep, honey.
Yes, absolutely. So do you want to share? You're on TikTok. What other social media are you on?
I have my private IG. It's the Fugitive 1984.
Okay. And people
And I
can
will
record
say right
you.
now, I just really, I've read some screenplays. You know, I no alcohol, no cigarettes. I am looking to ground and heal once and for all, learning to have much better discernment and trust in people, heal a lot of my own father issues.
And that's the least that you deserve. And if people feel
Oh, I
called,
deserve, like, with what I've been through, and I would, I just have to take baby steps at this point.
yes.
I am grateful for my attorneys in LA who've taken the case on contingency. But I do need that New York civil lawyer alone. Carrie Malcolm, Judith Bruce, and Christina stole millions from me. And millions not just in my earnings, but also assassination attempts I survived.
Well, yeah, and all the medical bills and time that you
Oh,
had to
I
take
mean,
off and
at least the LA people, they're going after a number of the fraudulent institutions, the bad doctors, a number of. But it
thank
takes time. What can I say? The New York civil attorney, if any lawyer is watching this, I need a New York civil attorney that I can trust, that won't be paid off, that will file for fraud within the next year and a half. I have evidence that all my records went to Judith Bruce, apartment 3D in 2018. I discovered the crime November 2022. I've only received my residuals for 4 years, and I'll be lucky if I get $40. Okay? I have evidence before that everything went to Greenwich Street. So that would be money. And if I had my money, I could buy a home. This will help, right?
And for people who feel called to help financially, Paz does have a GoFundMe page, and I'll bring that up and I'll also have it in the show notes. That way, you guys, if you want to contribute to her fight, contribute to her health and well being, to her safety and protection to get refuge, you guys can do that
I
here.
haven't deserved any of this, and what's so horrifying to me, it's there's some days I just cry. I just cry, and how no one in my family besides my aunt has supported me, and my life was tainted with deceit and envy and all these horrible things projected onto me. And
And by
only
people
now
who
am I
should have been caring about you.
what?
And by the people who should have been protecting and caring about you.
Oh, and
You're
then in Hollywood, you just meet so many insecure women that, of course they didn't feel bad for me. They were jealous of me.
Do you think a
So
lot of the people that, like women in Hollywood too, do you think a lot of them are abused themselves?
a lot of people all over the world are abused.
Yeah.
But what can you do? I think that the the profession of acting attracts different types of people. I needed it to heal. Even during the most horrible things that have gone on in my life, I've used art as a way to heal. Then you have actors that are narcissists and they just want attention, and that's a different type of artist. I want to see support from the good people, the real artists in Hollywood. you know.
And is your art for sale, the paintings that you do?
Yes, it is, and I get 50%. You know, but when I tell you that I'm practicing discernment in my life, given that my family offers people money to harm me, and they have offered film studios, lawyers, you know, when I say that I really am practicing discernment, you know, Judith sent a letter to my acting manager, but he didn't take the bait. You get it? She's done it with everyone else. What I'm saying is now I have this lawyer in LA who they promise to not accept any money, and they're Christians, and they're protecting me, and I'm going to use that to get more protection. Okay? Gotta go.
Bless them and God bless you, Paz. So I'll have all of your information in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of this wisdom and insight with us.
Love you.
Love you. And for everybody listening, thank you for listening. God bless you all, and we will see you next time.